Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We had a great one for you today. Got some images here. When I roll over, you can see the mouse pointer changes from an arrow to a hand there. When we click on it, it's going to flip between images. Click on it again, it's going to flip back. Same with these two here. And you can also apply this to modules if you want to. Click again, they're going to come back. And of course, they can roll over and hit the call to action button. Like I say, you can put any module in there you want. Really nice little effect. Gets a bit of interaction going on your desktop site. Really easy to do. So let's get started. I'm going to add a new page. And we'll start from scratch. Give it a name. Of course, we're going to use the Divi builder. I'm going to go ahead and build from scratch. Let's add a row. I'll throw a couple of columns in there. I'm going to use the image module for this initially. I'll show you how to do it with any other module. I'm sure you can figure it out. Here's a little image module. Let's grab those crazy AI car images. Okay, I'm not going to put a link or a background in there. But you'll notice when you hover over it, comes up with the name of the image there. Like I say, this is an AI generated image from Night Cafe. That's a crazy little image. If you want to change that or get rid of it completely, you can go over to Advanced and Attributes. There's the name. You can change it to whatever you want. Or get rid of it completely, which is what I'm going to do here. Fantastic. Okay, what we want to happen is we want to be able to click on this and have an image behind it that it's going to swap between. Then click again and bring it back. So to add the second image, what we're going to do is go into the row itself. We're going to go into the column that our initial image is sitting in, column 1, the left one here. Background is always under content. I'm going to go in there. Let's add an image that we want to toggle to. Grab another one of these crazy images. Now, of course, you won't be able to see it because it's behind our initial image here. Great, so we've got our image in there. Let's just save the row settings. Okay, to make this happen today, we're going to use a bit of CSS and JavaScript. And don't panic, I've done it all for you. All we need to do is use opacity and change classes when we click on this. Now, opacity, for anybody who doesn't know, is kind of see-throughness. So just to demonstrate, if I go into this image, they've got an opacity slider in the filters. 100% opacity is when an image is full. You can see the whole image. It's not transparent at all. If I drag it down the other way, you can see the other one bleed through. So we need to change from opacity 0 to opacity 1, which is 100% with CSS. And also, I want my cursor to change when it rolls over this to turn into a hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a code module. I'm going to add a new little row from my code module. Code modules don't take up much real estate, so you can put them anywhere on your page. I'm going to use a single column. Here's my code module. Now the first bit of code I'm going to write is CSS, so we have to put style tags in, which is left pointy bracket, the word style, and right pointy bracket. It'll put in the closing one automatically for you. We'll give it a bit of space. Okay, we need to create our two classes, opacity 1 and opacity 0. So I'm going to say dot opacity. I'm going to call mine -1. I'm going to open and close some curly brackets. I'll make sure that's a dot. I put a comma in front. It will not work. It's a class name, so all class names have to have a dot or a period in front. In between our little curly brackets there, I'm going to say opacity, colon, 1, which is fully visible. I'm going to put a little semicolon there. Now I'm going to copy this, Control C, from the dot to the first closing bracket there. I'm going to drop down a little bit. I'm going to paste it in there, Control V. I'm going to change that to a 0 for our next class name. And I'm going to change that opacity to a 0 also. Opacity 0, CSS, as I mentioned earlier, is see-through, so we'll see that image behind. Great. Now, as I mentioned before, I want our cursor to change from an arrow to a hand when we roll over, we can do that. We'll give this a class name. I'm going to give this a class name of switch in a moment. So I'm going to drop down up. I'll say dot switch for a new class name. We'll open and close the brackets. And to change the cursor to a hand icon, I'm going to say cursor, colon, pointer. And that should change to a hand when we hover over it now. Great, well, we've got our CSS in place. So we're going to write a bit of JavaScript in a minute. But the time it takes to click, I want a slight fade effect going on. So I'm going to add another little line. I'm going to add a bit of transition duration to both of these classes here. I've got a colon on the end instead of a semicolon there. I'll correct that. So I'm going to use transition, dash duration, colon. I'm going to give mine about 0.5 a second, 0.5 of a second. So I'm going to say 0.5s. I want it to ease in. Great. I'm going to copy that. I'm also going to put it in our opacity 0 class name. So when we click back, it should have a slight fade effect too. Great. Well, I've written some JavaScript. I'm just going to paste it in there. I'll tell you what it does. Okay, so I've written some script here. And we've got a document that it's going to tell this that when we click on something called switch, it's going to switch classes from opacity 1 to opacity 0. If you want to do it the opposite way around, just switch out those numbers, 1 for a 0. Remember, we've created these classes up here. It's going to switch between these classes, as long as we give it a class name of switch. So we'll save this now. And don't forget all this code. I'll put a link to it down below if you just need to copy and paste. So I'm going to give our little image here the class of switch. Over in Advanced, you'll find CSS IDs and classes. We'll give it the class name of switch. Make sure you put it in the class and not the ID. SWITCH. Great. Well, if we've done the thing correctly, this should now work. And I'll show you in a moment how easy it is to duplicate. You don't have to go through this every time you want to do this. And I'll also show you how to add different modules. So let's save our changes down here. And we'll exit the Visual Builder. Great. If we go down now, there's our image. You'll notice when I put the cursor over it, it's going to change from an arrow to a hand icon. Fantastic. When we click on it, it's going to fade between our two little images here every time I click. Now, to duplicate this or add a different module, it couldn't be easier, and I'm sure some of you have figured it out. Let's just enable the Visual Builder. I'm going to copy this image. Let's copy it 4 times. Little 2 squares to duplicate. I'm going to drag one of them across here. I'm going to create a new row underneath with 2 columns. I'm not going to put anything in there. I'm going to drag this image into one of these. And this image into one of these. Now remember, these images have all got the class names and everything that we need here. So let's go into our second image. I'm going to click on that. Now we'll pop in another crazy car. Same for this one. And again, don't forget, they've got crazy names, or mine have, yours probably won't have. But if you want to get rid of the names over in attributes, you can get rid of it there or change it to what you want. And our last one here, chuck in one more crazy car. There we go. Okay, all we need to do is go into these rows now. We know we've got an image in that column right there. We can add an image to our next column, which would be the one on the right here. This one. Great. And we'll pop down to our little row below and add some images to our columns here. Third tab across, remember, is image. And then for our last one, all we need to do is save, go back to the next column, and we're done. Third tab, and we'll throw that last image. And while we're here, Let's add a new row, and I'll show you how to do it with any module. I'm sure you figure this out yourselves. Put in whatever module. I'm going to use a call to action. I will leave it just like that. I will put in a little link so the button shows up. As you can see with the call to action, the button's not going to show up till you add the little link there. Great. And we want to go into the column, put something behind it. Remember, you can switch that code around if you want to have the image first. I'm going to go into a little column there, background. Vest for a crazy image in there. Right. Okay. Of course, you can't see it's behind there. But what we need to do, when we created the class of switch, anything you want this to work on, you just need to give the class of switch to. To do that, go into the module itself, advanced, CSS IDs and classes. Remember to put it in the class name, switch. It'll work with any module you care to. Great, well, we should be good to go. Let's hit the purple button. Save draft or publish if you're ready. Let's exit the visual builder. Here are our images. As you can see, we can click on them, toggle between the two. And here's our little call to action module here. It'll do exactly the same thing. And of course, you can actually click on the call to action link itself and take people somewhere by doing that. Click off of it. It's going to switch out that picture. Really nice little interactive feature. Really easy to do, as you can see. And don't forget, all that code will be down below. I've got a link down there. I'll open a PDF. You can just copy and paste it if you need to and make up your own. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you or make a little demo video just like this one. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.